Welcome up to the reviewing stand here at the yellow stop sign. The yellow stop signs are a Pittsburgh thing, I think. I remember them when I was a kid. This is 4398. 4398 is a low floor passenger car, a double-end passenger car, which means it is capable of running in either direction with controls at both ends of the car. Devin is our operator today. Very good, Devin. Wave to the crowd. There he is. He decorated the car for today. Actually, he decorated the car for last week and said we really need to keep the snazzy decorations on it. So here it is. 4298 was built in 1917 by the St. Louis Car Company and in St. Louis, Missouri, of course, and was one of 50 cars that Pittsburgh Railways bought at that time. There were 12 more identical cars that were bought to use on the Beaver Valley traction lines in the Beaver Valley, which was a subsidiary company of the owners of Pittsburgh Railways. So there were 62 cars like this. All of them ended up in Pittsburgh in pretty short order and were used on the shuttle lines. If you're from the South Hills, there was a shuttle line that ran from Mount Lebanon at Clearview Loop down to Castle Shannon and back. That was a very common line that ran until 1952 when these cars were decommissioned and put in storage to use for emergency cutbacks. The museum purchased 4398 in 1956 from Pittsburgh Railways. The company was kind enough to let it be stored at the Glenwood Car House on 2nd Avenue until 1960 when it was brought down here and put into the collection at the Trolley Museum. 4398 is one of our regular stalwart cars in the fleet. It is found operating here pretty regularly. It was completely restored here at the museum with new steel sides and new woodwork. So it's kind of like a new old streetcar. We like to say we jacked up the roof and built a new car underneath it. So anyway, in 4398, 1917, St. Louis Car Company. Take it away, Devin.
Here, go ahead.
Oh boy, more patriotic decorations. Well, we have two red floor cars in our collection.
It's a little different.
If you take a close look at this one and remember what I said before, this is a single-ended low floor car. It runs from just the one end officially, although it has backup controls because it had to be coupled when it was originally built. It had to be coupled to cars just like it so they could run them in two-car trains to Charleroi. So in 1953, when the museum was getting ready to come to this site, the founders decided to buy this car because it was kind of the last of the cars that ran on the lines to Washington and Charleroi. 3756 also served during World War II as a transport vehicle to take workers to the shipyards on Nettle Island where they built the LST boats that were used to invade Normandy. It was used in that service, and because of the arrangement of the tracks along the street, they didn't want to drop passengers off right onto the roadway. So they took 8 of these cars and they cut a door in the left-hand side There it is, pretty snazzy, huh? And that would allow them to have safe operation. So 3756, long and special career, low floor car. It's really one of the founding cars of the Trolley Museum, and it's operated today by Dom. So Dom's going to wave. There he is. Thank you, Dom. Take it away. Oh, for goodness sakes. Yes. Here's another thing about 3056. I didn't say it was built in 1925, which is 100 years ago. We can even look up the date on in our roster. We have a very thorough roster from Pittsburgh Railway that tells us when the cars were delivered. I didn't bother doing that this morning. I guess I should have. All right, pulling up the reviewing stand. This is another car that was operated in Pittsburgh. It ran on a line from the waterworks, the Pittsburgh Waterworks near Aspinwall to New Kensington. And in New Kensington, it met an identical car which ran on the line from New Kensington up to Natrona, to the what is now Allegheny International or an abandoned steel plant. I don't know which. But at any rate, it was a two-piece line. It ran along Freeport Road. Freeport Road was heavily damaged in the floods of 36. And in 37, they decreed that they were going to rebuild the tracks, and they were going to have the trolley company replace all their tracks. And the trolley company said, no, we're West End Railways. We don't spend money on things like that. And so all of these cars were taken one or two at a time on their own wheels from the car barn in Tarentum over to West End territory along the Trafford line in Jeanette at Oak Park, from which the crews would take over from that region and operate them down to Connellsville, where they ran until the early 50s. This is the second of the cars that came here on their own wheels from Pittsburgh in 1954, when the museum was founded on February 7th and established at the site just down the tracks. Operating the car is Sarah Wells. There she is. She's taking good care to not notch it up too much, and we're running it. It was restored here, lovingly restored here, over about 8 years between 2009 and 2018. Okay. All right, sir, take it away. Stand now. 1138, 1138, car 1138 was acquired by the museum in 1961. It was handpicked from a number of cars that were in storage at Ingram Car House after the abandonment of all the tracks in the West End section of the city. It came to the museum on April 5th of that year, and was cosmetically restored between 1966 and 1968, when we rolled it out in a grand ceremony. It was then stored outdoors under a tarp for a number of years and put into our shop building in 1976. In 1999, the Adtrans company, a division of Daimler-Benz, which operated Westinghouse Transportation and their operations that had moved from East Pittsburgh to West Midland. The Adtrans people and our friend Ray Butler arranged to have it taken in 1970 or 2000 to the Adtrans plant in Elmira, New York, where it was totally gone over by their technicians and experts in car construction and restored to the beauty that you see here today. Dave Moffat is the operator of the car. Stephen is his co-pilot. 1138 was completely rewired here at the museum between 2015 and 2020, and was put back into service just this year. So 1138, built in 1937 by the St. Louis Car Company. Take it away, Dave. Ding, ding.
Drive that one yet? Not yet.
Alright, pulling up to the beginning stand now.
There's the one
An operator's favorite. The operators here at the museum love to run 1711. 1711 shares the same story of restoration, only over a longer period of time with 1138. It started out at Port Authority, now PRT, and we purchased it in 1990. It was purchased and moved to the Park Cannon Body Company here in Meadowlands in that day, and it was cosmetically restored in every way, inside and out, and it was used here until 2001 when 1138 returned from Elmira, New York, and it was put on the trailer that day and sent to Elmira to have the same treatment that 1138 received. So it has been restored under the auspices of the museum twice. 1711 was built in 1949 by the St. Louis Car Company. It was one of 25 cars 1700 to 1724, that were specially equipped to operate on the lines of the interurbans, which ran to Washington, Pennsylvania, and to Charleroi. And of course, the Charleroi line extended down to Roscoe, which made it a way for students to get back and forth to California University. 1711 served in regular service until 1990. It was brought here. We put it into use as soon as it was fixed up, and it's been riding the rails here ever since. We've got CJ Dick. There he is. He's the operator of the car. He's got his complete and handsome uniform on, and he's gonna ding ding. And thank you. Ding ding needs go. Oh, 3 needs back out. to the yellow stop
I
sign.
tell them if I do, you don't want to grab it till they watch.
The final car of our 10:30 parade, car 4004, which was a 1700 series car rebuilt by Port Authority using fiberglass side panel, fiberglass filled side panels of aluminum. It was rebuilt in the 1980s. It was the last of these cars rebuilt. It was in the shop in South Hills Village, which gives you an idea of how recently it was put on the road. At least recently in my mind, you know, some people are not as old. Anyway, 4004 was 1739. A similar car is sitting at the Schoolhouse Art Center in Bethel Park. You might see it there. It's been repainted in the red and cream colors, and it has its original number on it. 4004 came here in 2004 after the trolley display building was completed, and it was rolled into place as one of the displays there. It was put into operational status by the operator, Jeff King, and Christopher Walker, and Jeff collaborated to make 4004 run by putting a trolley pole on it again so that it could collect power from the wire with a wheel. 4004 always had a sleet cutting snow scraper or ice scraper on the front of it that was pantographed, and so the Port Authority donated the pantograph. Our guys restored it and put it back up on the roof so that the car didn't look like it did when it was running in operation until 1999 on the Drake line. So, 4004 Pittsburgh Regional Transit, actually Pat Transit, 1988. Take it away, Jeff.
So that is the conclusion of our parade today. We're going to have car 2227 pulling up to the platform right now. It'll be loaded and departing for a 15-minute round trip. This will be the last trip this car will make for today.
And Port Authority Transit M283. M283 was built in 1929 by the Differential Steel Car Company of Findlay, Ohio. What we're going to have here is a demonstration of what it can do. This is a crane car that was specially designed by H. Fort Flowers, the founder of Differential Car Company. He designed this crane car to be able to work under the wires on a streetcar line. And he also designed it to be a locomotive to tow other cars. What you're seeing now is Larry and Dan demonstrating how it is used to pick up special work for building the tracks. The piece of special work is known as a frog, and the frog is placed in the street or in the open track where two rails cross over each other. So on your journeys up and down our tracks today, be looking for frogs. There's two of them right here in our street, or at either end of where the tracks of the street go. It has different motors and controllers that allow it to operate in all the different directions. Up and down on the hook, back and forth on the hook, up and down on the boom, and sideways swinging with the boom. So anyway, that's Larry Dan waving to the camera. There you go. And M283, 1929. Pittsburgh Railways brought that to use on the streetcar system.
Oh, I'm on your way.
Next piece of equipment pulling into the reviewing area is Pittsburgh Railways M210. M210 was operated by the Pittsburgh Railways Company and Port Authority Transit, now PRT. And it is a very versatile piece of equipment that is used here at the museum in many ways, including putting the wire up here on Volunteer Boulevard. We're going to demonstrate the versatility of the platform for working on a wire. The platform has the capability of going up and down, as well as swinging 90 degrees to the tracks to allow the crews to get to the poles on the sides of the track. The parts for this car were collected together in 1940, and it was built new at the shops in Homewood by the Pittsburgh Railways Company. We find a memo that apologizes for them overspending the budget to build it, which was $7,240 or some such number like that. Michael's demonstrating right now how the wires are held and pulled into position by different kinds of harnesses, including come-alongs and block and tackle, like that. All right. So over the years, we've had our volunteers trained in doing this work by people who did this work for Pittsburgh Railways and Port Authority, including our dear friend Tony DeCinci, who taught us so much about the operations of the railways. He started at Towderdale Car House with his father, and he moved on to working in Pittsburgh on the line to Washington Twin. He also served in the Marines at the end of World War II. So he was quite a guy. At the controls of the car, we've got Jeff King, who is a Port Authority employee who works with the power and the signals, and Jason Rompala, who is a supervisor of the operations, and we have Per Kenley also, who's riding along just for fun. Alrighty, so thank you guys for the demonstration. It was very informative. M210 Pittsburgh Railways, 1940. This is the work car parade, so we're seeing many versatile pieces of equipment. That one was built home built in Pittsburgh, using parts for a low floor car and an open car. get the review instead this time is another car built by the Differential Car Company of Findlay, Ohio, the birthplace of Ben Roethlisberger. Their factory was in business until the 1990s, building railroad dump cars. This is dump car M551 from Pittsburgh Railways and Port Authority Transit. Michael and CJ are the crew, and they're going to demonstrate to you how a differential dump car was made to work. From the doors on the sides that open from the bottom. This car is used to fill with ballast along the open tracks of the interurban lines, like the ones that went from Pittsburgh to Washington and Charleroi-Roscoe. These cars were also used on Bruno's Island in later years to haul ashes so that the Cinderella ferry boat could take dump trucks over there to get them filled to put cinders on the street in the wintertime. When I was a lad, they replaced that with salt, which melts trolleys and automobiles, as well as snow and ice. This car was decommissioned by the Port Authority in 1984 when it was acquired by the Trolley Museum. It was built in 1922. It was one of 5 cars built then. There were 5 others that were built in 1914. The inventor of the differential dump car is H. Ford Flowers. Same as the crane car. So anyway, I'm Bob. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Dave. Sweepers and went to Pittsburgh Railways in 1918. It was decommissioned by Beaver Valley Traction in 1935, and like many cars for Beaver Valley Traction, it was transferred to the Pittsburgh Railway system to be used there. So the car received the number M56, and it operated in Pittsburgh until 1972, when it was acquired by the museum. And we started restoration in 1972. In 2015, we finally pulled it all together. 2015, that's a long time. And finished putting the car together with the headlights on the roof and the gold base back on the roof where it belongs. In 1972, when we first operated this car, we were walking the trolley around at the end of the track to change directions, and the entire center of the roof pulled loose. And so the car was pretty much out of commission for all those years while we got it fixed up. So anyway, Beaver Valley Traction number 1, Sarah Wells is at the controls. Ding ding. Oh man, there it goes. It's all electric, this car. It has no air brakes. It starts on the steep hills in Pittsburgh. All of the sweepers that they had in Pittsburgh, all 42 of them were the same. They were all electric with hand braking. Now, if you remember what the previous car was, you'll be able to identify this one. It's another
Sweeper.
Very good. Anyway, snow sweeper number 4 is another product of the McGuire Cummins Manufacturing Company. It was built in 1922, and it was purchased by the Philadelphia and Westchester Traction Company after the blizzard of 1922. As they found that they came up a little short on equipment to fight the snow. And they had people stranded in cars along the Westchester line between Westchester and Philadelphia for a couple of days. Anyway, Snow Sweeper number 4 was restored by our enthusiastic youth crew last year. There they are, there's Dom and Louie. Louie and Bob spearheaded the job. They're old buddies from high school in Montour. There are some of our budding young enthusiasts who are going to take over for us all, three people, and already are doing so anyway. So they fixed the car up, got it all painted beautiful like this, along with Albert Jack, who is in Texas today, and several other of the youth crew that you'll see on the cars today. So anyway, sweeper number 4 built in 1922, operated until 1986 in Philadelphia, and used by SEPTA, which is the transit authority in Philadelphia. We bought the car in 1988 and brought it here and plan to restore it further someday. In the meantime, we are holding it together with paint and pieces of plywood. So anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you for the sweeper. It's a double truck sweeper. It has 2 poles on it, so it can change ends. You go the other way, it doesn't need one. You don't need to walk the pole around the other end. And there you go. It's got a really cool whistle. Oh, that's a good question. The question back there. Oh, look. Question is, what are the rooms made out of? That is a very good question. A lot of places you'll see them say bamboo. That's wrong. They're made out of rattan.
Wow.
Which is what they cut into strips and they weave into covering for seats.
Okay, I was wrong about that.
They also use those sticks in Singapore to punish people who shoot out and leave them out on the street. Alright, when we get to the review stand right now, we have West Penn 1. Okay, peeking out the window there is Sean Penny. He's one of our youth brigade. And at the controls is Bob Jordan, I think. There he is. Okay. Bob and his wife Mary are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this week. So there you go. Mary's not here to receive a plus, so wave with both hands. You do this. There you go. That's for Mary. That's Mary's part. So anyway, Western 1 was built in 1916 by the West Penn Railways Company. It was built as a locomotive to shift railroad cars, around their yard in Connellsville, where they received shipments of railroad ties and wooden line poles to do work not only on the trolley lines, but everywhere in their system, because they ran the electric company and the trolley company. It turned out electricity was more profitable, so they ended up in the electricity business. And the trolleys were all abandoned by 1952. Fortunately, West Penn 1 was left behind in Connellsville, and our group acquired it in 1958. And it's probably the fourth car acquired, maybe the fifth. And it was brought here on a little trailer behind a tractor on the highway. And it bent the trailer because the weight of this locomotive is 52,000 pounds. Everything below the floor is scrap iron and concrete.
Wow.
And so it has quite a lot of weight on an 1890 streetcar truck. It also has double reduction gearing, so it's really super powerful, but it's also super slow. So when we run in a parade, we don't take it very far. That's the ties the lineup. Alrighty, so hey, West Bend 1, West Bend Railways, acquired 1958, built 1916. Thank you. Ding ding, toot toot. Toots on this air. There it is. An open car that we have in operation here during the summer. It is car 1758 from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. We have Tim at the controls, and we have Sean as the conductor. 1758 was built in 1911 by the Rio de Janeiro Trolley Company in their own shops. They had the components for building the cars shipped to Brazil for assembly from the Brill factory in Philadelphia. And this car is a 13-bench Narragansett open car, which was a Brill trademark name for this style of open car that has a step on the edge of the frame as well as a step to get up off the street. So other open cars might have had two steps that stuck out at the bottom, or may have just had one long reach for your leg to get inside the car. So anyway, it is a double-ended car. Each of the benches is designed to flip over 180 degrees. Okay, we'll call it that, yeah. So that the car can go in the other direction. It was used on the lines in Rio de Janeiro. Thank you, Sean. It was used on the lines in Rio de Janeiro until the early 60s. They had a massive fleet of these cars. The Association of Railway Museums started a consortium that got together and bought 12 cars from various museums around the northeast of the United States. 1758 was bought for the McGee Museum of Transportation in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. It was restored there and Leonard McGee Shortway Electric Railway because the line ran parallel to Interstate 80 up there in Brookville or in Bloomsburg. So anyway, it was restored there. It was operated there for 2 or 3 years, along with 4145 that we have here that just left. And unfortunately, during Hurricane Agnes, it was inundated by flooding. The museum was disbanded. The founder, Harry McGee, who was old, passed away during that time. And all the cars were sold to various places. 1758 went to Wildwood, New Jersey, and was inside a hockey shop, just parked as an ornament, a place for people to sit and eat their lunch, I guess. And it was there until the owner retired from New Jersey and moved to Sarasota, in Florida. So from Sarasota, after he passed away, the car went to Orlando and was Oscar, the Orlando Streetcar, O-S-C-A-R. And then it was offered for sale, and we were the fortunate winning bidders with the help of our friends from the Allegheny Foundation. And the car was brought here, and our shop guys reconditioned it to operate on our line, including widening the wheels out so they fit our track. So there's a huge amount of engineering that went into getting this car ready, and in 2011 we rolled it out. So anyway, Tim and Sean, take it away. To the right-hand track is New Orleans 832. The car that made the Trolley Museum famous back in 1964. Car 832 was brought here on a railroad flat car from New Orleans. The New Orleans Public Service Company gave the cars away in 1964 to trolley museums that were interested in having a car. So 12 cars were taken out of New Orleans and sent to various trolley museums around the country. Our museum is the only place where you'll find a New Orleans car operating in its native design, where the wheels fit the tracks. Everyone else that got a New Orleans car had to push the wheels in so that they would be 4 foot 8.5, the same as a railroad, instead of 5 foot 2.5, like the cars in Pittsburgh and the museum's construction. So the fame of 832 came in December 14th or so of 1947, when it was featured in a Life magazine article. A photo of it was featured of the car on Bourbon Street in an article about Tennessee Williams' play, Streetcar Named Desire, coming to Broadway. So early on, the museum group asked for this car. We were one of the first groups that ever asked for a car, like in 1956. And in 1964, we had to pick the litter and pick this car because it was famous for being on a magazine, inside the magazine, Life magazine. So anyway, on board the car, let's see. Well, we got Scott Becker sitting there. Scott is our recently retired executive director. Give him a big applause. And Louis Mariano is the operator. Louis came here as a child with the family and had birthday parties here and fell in love with the place. And his dad said to me, "I don't know what you have in the water out here, but my son just can't get it up." So we really appreciate the efforts Louis made. He's the head of our youth committee, working on various exciting projects that keep secret until they're done. So anyway, thank you, Louis. Thank you, Scott. Everybody else hiring on the cars. All right, game day. You can still do that in San Francisco, and I highly recommend it. The trolley is an electric streetcar. That's really what it is. The fact that it gets its power from the wire by way of a wheel that rolls on the wire is where it gets the name trolley, because that pole and the wheel are the trolley. So this became known as a trolley car, although in Pittsburgh it was a streetcar. Streetcar. I'm not very good at Pittsburgh accent. So anyway, this is a car from Cincinnati Street Railway. It has the emblem emblazoned on the sides with the 20s streetcar and the 20s bus in the emblem. So it's really great. Car 2227 was built by the Cincinnati Car Company in Cincinnati. And they had a huge fleet of cars that they did all kinds of modifications on to change them. They modernized some of the cars, and they renumbered them by adding the first two digits together and calling that car 487. Well, this car was never modified. The 2 trolleys on the roof was something that all Cincinnati cars had, so that the negative return current could go through a wire back to the substation rather than through the rails the way it normally goes. So anyway, car 2227, built in 1919. So it's built in the later years to an early design. It has Dominic Frizzy at the controls and who's in the back? Nobody. So we have Dominic all by himself. It's a one-man car, so we're good. Okay, Dom, ding ding, fire in the hole. Many of them from the ones that are in the streetcar at the Cincinnati Museum in the old train station. They have a car on display there, and our guys were allowed to go there and photograph the ads, and we stretched and tweeted them until we had copies. Okay, pulling up to the forgive stand now. A car that's been here since 1958. This was probably the 4th car that arrived, like in March of 1958. Car 5326 is a typical 1923 grill, double-end streetcar. It was restored here at the museum in the late 70s, and it's restored to approximate what it looked like when it was originally built in 1923. These cars ran in regular service until 1957. Our illustrious leader, Mr. Redmond, Lou Redmond, went to Philadelphia, said he wanted to buy a streetcar, and they said, okay, we'll sell you a streetcar. He says, well, but I'd like a test drive first. So they let him take it out on the rails because he worked for Pittsburgh Railways as a young man. So anyway, he picked this car, we brought it here. It's been restored to much to the original condition. The rust holes you see coming through the one side here, well, they sort of developed over the years. So anyway, 5326, 1923, run by Stephen Semrod, all by himself, right? There he is, it's a one-man car. It has safety control. Ding ding, fire in the hole. See you later. Is Philadelphia Suburban Transportation, car 66. Car 66 was acquired by the museum in 1970 from SEPTA, the Transit Authority in the Philadelphia area. It is operated by Dave Moffett, I think, even though my list, Dave Moffat's in there. Okay. Boating, next boating. Sorry, I just couldn't make it up there. That's what it says in my list. And then CJ is opening the center doors. Center door cars were a crowd-swallowing beast that they kept around for hauling school kids home in the evening so that one car could swallow them all up and have just one car where there were excited school children. So they did that on purpose. They also kept them around to run in the winter when the snow got deep. And in 1969, they decided to get rid of 4 of the 4 cars came here. Car 66. We spent a lot of time making new windows for it. Alright. We spent a lot of time making new windows for it and replaced the had the arch glass frames made for the upper sash, which had been taken off and replaced with plywood. So a lot of changes were made to the car over the years. We're currently working on replacement arch glass windows to replace the ones that have been on there since 1974. So anyway, built in 1926. It's a 2-man car, or takes 2 crew persons to operate it. And you have the conductor in the center of the car to collect money, the operator in the cab. These cars are capable of running in 2-car trains, which is a dream for us for the future, since we have another one of these in the shop being worked on right now. All right. When they took the bus companies that they had bought out and the trolley company and combined it all into one big company called Philadelphia Suburban, or Red Arrow Lines. Okay, so this car was acquired in 1982 from SEPTA, the current transit operator in the Philadelphia area, still running electric cars, modern streetcars, on the same line that 78 closed out on in 1982. We mounted a big campaign during 1982 to encourage the preservation of these cars, and were successful in arranging our own personal bid meeting where Pennsylvania Museum could get the cars for $1. And so we got 78 and its sister car, number 5, which we're hoping to get on display here before too long for the museum. 78 was built in 1932. It's a one-man car. There she is with her lace vest. You don't want to stand up and bottle that. There you go. There you go. And she's operating 78 They ran these cars as one man or two man, depending on whether it was rush hour or not. They could have somebody on the car collecting the fares, and they could have the operator free to just go at maximum speed. So ding ding, thank you. There she goes. Jeff King, operating car 14. Car 14 is another of the Red Arm Lines cars that we acquired. We paid real money for this, but nevertheless we were able to preserve these in 1982 when they were all taken out of service to be replaced by the 29 Japanese-built Kawasaki cars that are still serving on the media and the Sharon Hill lines in suburban Philadelphia, running out of 69th Street Terminal, which is the end of the elevated line that runs down Market Street and out to Frankfurt. Now, one of the things that we're going to demonstrate here this time, we have the crew, we have Kevin and Jeff. They're lining up the couplers. 14 and 24 were built in 1949 by St. Louis Car Company and have the ability of running in a two-car train.
Just join.
You're going to pull up. Oh, you're fine right there. Oh, yeah, pull up a little more so people can see it happen. Yeah, we're going to pull 14 up a little bit so everybody can see how they automatically couple together. They have what's known as Tomlinson couplers, which is a very common design. It was built in Mansfield, Ohio, and it was used on many interurban and rapid transit lines. It was used for the elevator that ran between 69th Street and Frankfurt Depot in Philadelphia. So Jeff's pulling up, and then 24 is going to come up and couple up to it. That's good. Yeah, the couplers will be going up. And you can see there's brass buttons on either side of the coupler in a composite plastic block. And when the hooks of the couplers jam together and the coupler lines up with aligning pins, then the little contactor pins allow the circuits from the front car to control the back car. And we're coupled up.
Nice.
So now the operator in the front car is controlling the two-car train. And we're going to have a two-car train make a couple of trips in case anybody wants to ride on them. Yeah, that's perfect. It'll be going the same direction as it is now. Okay, so we have Jeff in the front car, Jeff King. We have Jason Rapal in the second car. His proud dad is right here. And we've got Bear Pendleton. I saw you go by. Yeah. So we're all coupled up, and everything's going to run just perfect, right? Okay, the next car is
Are you guys just going to load there?
we're going to pull our cars up and load them so they can 2711 from the city lines in Philadelphia that were operated by the Philadelphia Transportation Company until 1968. This part of the operation was taken over by SEPTA in 1968. The Red Arrow was taken over in 1970. Okay, we've got Devin at the controls. Devin is an avid PCC-er. He just loves to get the seat and go.
Did not know that was actually one of the schools that she liked it.
2711 was built in 1947
wall is. And we went
by the St. Louis Car Company. One of the two major manufacturers of PCC cars.
Yeah.
It was in service until the late 90s when the museum acquired it to turn it into a handicap/wheelchair accessible car. And we have a lift that we use to get wheelchairs up into the car. And it gets called on to do that service, periodically. It's always good if you have a wheelchair to call ahead on a regular day of operation so that the crew is prepared for it, so we can get the other car out. So anyway, 2711 acquired through the generosity of AdTrans, the Daimler-Benz that took over Westinghouse Transportation Division that builds the people movers out in West Mifflin and had a factory in Elmira, New York, where they did the restoration on his car to make it pretty and green again. Anyway, whenever you're ready there, Michael.